Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of something. I haven't decided on the name of it yet, so hopefully you guys can help me out with a name. My name's Trent Dennison. I am a member of Team Muse, one of the captains in fact. I've been playing War Machine for about 4 years. I started off with Crix and started around the time that Warhammer 8th edition was released. Me and a lot of friends of mine came over and started playing War Machine and haven't looked back. It's just a really incredible game. Could not be happier playing it now, and you know we've really taken on board the Privateer Press philosophy of play hard or go home and play like you've got a pair. And speaking of, this is my cat Peach. Say hi, Peach. Meow. Anyway, so yeah, we when I say we, I mean a lot of my friends and I, which all played Warhammer Fantasy, we all came over and we've been to a couple of overseas tournaments now. My good friend James and I went over to Lock and Load a few months ago and did fairly well there. We went to the OETC, which is a precursor to the WTC, and my team came fourth out of the 30 countries that went to that, which was really good too. And I've won a few tournaments along the way as well. So this video diary, this video blog is going to be about my journeys in starting a new faction. I'm going to detail all of the processes that I go through when I start a new faction. It's going to showcase me modelling and painting and putting together an army and playing games with that army, and the process I go through when building a list, the games that I play against all the various opponents that I have, and so on and so forth. So I'll also take some footage at tournaments I attend, and hopefully it'll be a bit of an insight into my hobby as well as the faction that I'm going to be starting. So, speaking of, Protectorate of Menoth is the faction that I've decided to go with. And the reason I selected the Protectorate, believe it or not, when I first started I was actually really struggling to decide between Crix and Menoth as to which I would start. And I ended up going with Crix because I wanted to paint them. The Menoth feel, the style of the knights, you know, with all the menafixes and stuff, I really enjoyed that, and it was very, very close to me playing them initially. So anyway, I started with Crix, but now I've finally get an opportunity to play Menoth. So the process that I take when I start a new faction, I tend to spend a lot of time researching before I do any purchasing. That's not the case with the Crix army that I started off with, because I knew nothing about the game, so I just bought models that I liked. But now that I've got a bit more experience, I tend to do a lot of reading and research. And one of the things I also like to do is listen to podcasts. There's quite a few podcasts out there that review various factions, and one in particular is really good at talking about the casters, which is Chain Attack. Believe it or not, one of the sponsors of Team Muse is Chain Attack. I strongly recommend downloading episodes of Chain Attack that pertain to your faction. They just give you a bit of an overview of how the caster works in a very general sense, and it just lets you have a bit of a feel for the faction. I've listened to all of the episodes now that have Kador, that have Crix, that have Circle, and that have Protectorate, and it just that you know, they're not going to give you any real extreme super high level tactics or anything like that, but they just give you a solid grounding of what you can do, and oftentimes you'll pick up on cool little tricks that they can do as well. So it's worth having a listen to Chain Attack. And then there's a few other podcasts that have been out on the Muse site, which is this one. The Team Muse guys, the Muse on Mini's website has had lots of people doing podcasts, and one of them was a bunch called Team ATL, which is hosted by Walter, and he's done a review of basically the entire faction, which is really interesting. He did it with a guy, I think off the top of my head it was a guy called Paradox, but I can't remember that without having that information in front of me. Well researched from Big Deno there. But yeah, the podcast will just give you a bit of a sense of where you should go with your purchasing, just to start off with. So for me, I'm going to go a different route. I have already decided on 4 casters that I would like to have a play with. I tend to start off with 1 or 2 casters and focus on them and play a lot of different units with them to try and get a bit of a handle on how the faction works. And I usually stick with 3 or 4 casters across a few months. Peach is going nuts. a 5 to 6 month period, I'll usually only play 3 or 4 casters and try and get good with them, I guess. And I've been looking through the Menoth book and the other releases in War Room, and I've decided to start with a couple of different casters that are quite interesting. The first one, which is super exciting, which I've been laughed at by the number of people I've told, is this guy. Amon Adraza, what a legend. I don't know, something about synergy and lots of dervishes excites me, so that will be the topic of my next video blog. I'm going to sit down and talk about the processes I've gone through in designing an Amon list, and hopefully my first game with the models. Actually, that's probably a lie. I don't think I will be playing any games anytime soon, because I'm doing other stuff, so just cut that out, cut that out. So the next episode will be me talking about Amon Adraza and the various thoughts I've had about building a list with him, how I foresee my few games that I'll have with him going. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to start playing games and getting into the faction for probably about 3 months, which it's quite a way away. The reason why I'm playing a lot of Kador at the moment, because I'm taking them to the WTC. So the focus will not be on Menoth until after that. But for me, that's probably a good thing, because I'll be able to spend a lot of time theorying and considering the faction and thinking about which way I want to go with purchasing. I may, somewhere along the line, do some painting of Menoth if I get some figures, which I'm hoping I will. So that'll be fairly interesting, hopefully. Anyway, thank you very much everyone for tuning in, and if you didn't catch it, there was a video series I did just prior to this and talking about the lock and load experience, which is called A Doge's Breakfast. I'm going to link that in this video, so it's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. It'll give you some sort of idea as to what you can expect from this video blog. It's probably going to be a fairly fun journey, I think. I don't know if I'm going to arrive at the same conclusions as everyone else does or has with Menoth. I tend to come at games from a fairly unique perspective, so hopefully I can bring that to Menoth, and hopefully you'll be able to see it along the way. So thank you everyone. Look forward to experiencing this all with you, and hope we can have a bit of fun along the way. So signing out, Big Deno. See, you want to say goodbye, Peach? Peach? No, she's running away. See you guys. I'll see you next episode.